20 and 30 years. Oh,
Sorry.
it's okay. For 20 and 30 years, you know, who are going to be there until.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious, in what are your concerns after the moratoriums? I do believe there's going to be a high turnover in maybe not DCLT housing, but just in evictions once the moratoriums cease. How are you guys forecasting what's going to happen with that? You know, if I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a longer waiting list, but are y'all concerned about the end of those moratoriums?
Well, we're on an organizational basis, not particularly concerned about them. I mean, we don't typically do a great deal of evictions to begin with. So it's not really going to impact our residents much. But I mean, I know that there is a prediction of high turnover or high eviction rate after a moratorium. We're not going to be able to do much to help that, to be honest with you. And I Jess can chime in here about their program, their housing as well. But because we have quite a waiting list to begin with, and we're not going to be able to help additional residents gain affordable housing in Durham.
Or better yet, not in a better yet sense, but I do believe there'll probably be a lot of foreclosures. Is that an opportunity for DCLT to be able to acquire more, or CASA to be able to acquire more housing based on foreclosures that may happen due to folks not being able to pay their mortgages or being able to pay back mortgage, things of that nature?
Well, when you think of mortgages, so unless you're talking about multifamily buildings, and I'm assuming, are you talking about single family housing?
Whether it's single family housing,
so multifamily might present an opportunity for us to acquire units, in-house additional people. Single family, not so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the single family market is hotter than it's ever been. There's this total dichotomy right now between owners and renters and how they're faring in the pandemic. But I think that's a really good point that you bring up and that Selena mentioned about, might the multifamily landscape soften a little bit if landlords, we don't exactly know how this is going to play out when, if landlords evict everybody, are there going to be renters to fill the units? When we still have this income loss, I'm not quite sure we know how it's all going to play out. And maybe there will be some landlords who are like, I'm getting out of the business and selling off their multifamily.
Thank y'all.
You're muted,
Reginald, you're muted.
Thank you. That's the quote of the year. You are muted. I'm going to just say, for the benefit of the group, that got a couple of things going on. One, the rental market and the home ownership market are distinguishable, even in this economy. There are two different markets that are going on. And then from the perspective of the renter or the purchaser is different from the owner. And so we keep that in mind, because that's what Jess was talking about when the market is hot. And alluded to that too, because her organization started work when the economy wasn't as hot as it is now. And so the resources that she's talking about takes a double hit. One, the economy is hot. I mean, we're talking about in Durham. And then also the money is shorter, if you get what I'm saying. So that's two pieces there. And so we just have to keep that in mind, that the environment has changed. I would also add, Selena, if you don't mind, I know you alluded to the shared equity model and saying that was a discussion for another day, but I'm not sure that everyone is uniform in our knowledge of that. Is there a way you can give a quick primer on the shared equity model?
Sure, it's so it's a community land trust model. It allows us, what we actually do in that model is we actually, when we sell a house, and this is our home ownership model. When we sell a house for home ownership, we do just that. We sell just the house or the improvements, and which is actually the house. We retain ownership of the land. And we do that for the sole purpose of being able to ensure that when that house gets ready to be resold, or in very, very rare cases, foreclosed on, or whatever the case may be, that forces us back to the table to say, we ensure that our goal is to ensure that that house gets sold to another family that needs affordable housing, as opposed to being sold on the open market. I mean, there's not a single homeowner in the West End who couldn't sell their house for $300,000 today. But it would make it unaffordable for the next buyer. And so our goal in that process, and our goal for owning the land, is to ensure that we have a vested interest in the property, to ensure that that house doesn't get sold at $300,000, but instead that house gets sold at $120,000, $140,000, so that it is then affordable for families that need affordable housing. That short enough?
That was good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was going to ask Ms. Mack what the mechanism is for making your home or single family home projects permanently affordable, and I guess that's part of the answer, right? It's deed restricted.
That's right. It's exactly. That's primarily the answer.
So just as a person who is a part of the gentrifying force of East Durham, I can tell you I get a call unsolicited about once a month asking if I'd like to entertain a cash offer for my home. So, but we
do too.
Yeah.
And so do our home, and Carl, so do our homeowners. And that's, they get knocks on the door, and they're constantly being bombarded with offers to sell their homes.
I'm certain of it. But just to go back to sort of Ebony's question about the pace in East Durham it's going to mean that you're not going to be able to have the same impact. And I'm wondering if the thing that you would need to expand DCLT's model to other parts of Durham that are sort of about to rapidly accelerate on a gentrification curve, if the thing you needed would just be a lot more capital all at once. Is that about right?
Yeah, patient capital, patient capital, but yeah, so capital would certainly be a good start. But the other thing that we do, typically we will not go into a new neighborhood uninvited. It has to be a community effort for us to actually develop in the neighborhood. So that would also be part of the equation, is that the community actually wants us there, and wants the land trust model in that neighborhood, and willing to support the organization. Okay, I think that might be it, Matt.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Well, I will just say thanks to Jess and Selena for taking the time to present to us, and you all are welcome to continue with stay on the meeting, or you're also welcome to go and have some dinner.
That sounds like a plan. But
Thank you.
thanks for inviting us. And we really appreciate being here, and happy to do it anytime.
Thank y'all.
Same
Thank
here.
y'all both.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
What we got next? Is that Ms. Conyers' update on the 2021-2022 annual action plan funding?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and happy Monday evening at this point. Matt, will you bring up the funding chart?
Yes. Just a second here.
So while Matt is doing that, I want to ask the members that are on this Zoom meeting? Is there anyone that did not receive the draft annual action plan and funding chart that was disseminated last Monday? I'm sorry, last Friday. If you did not, please indicate that in the chat. So what we will do is make sure that everyone on the CAC who is supposed to be on our listserv, we will just move forward with sending it specifically to the CAC members. So we are happy to share with you that the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development a couple of weeks ago announced the final entitlement formula allocations, and I will just go through each one of them as I address the 4 different grants. So first, we have the Emergency Solutions Grant. This is not the final. That was published on Friday.
Yeah,
Matt.
this I don't have the other.
Okay,
chart.
so I sent that via email
Okay, let me see.
on Friday.
Let me just
Okay. Well, actually, it was sent to the admin group on Wednesday. So you would look in your.
Just a second here. Okay, I think I have it here.
Am I able to share? Do you have it?
I think I have it here.
Okay, it would say funding chart on public review.
This one.
Okay, I need to close out my.
Yes, this is the one that you emailed.
Okay, thank you. And everyone, thank you for your patience. So beginning with the Emergency Solutions Grant, and let's just for a moment, prior to receiving the actual final entitlement amounts, we used some estimated amounts for planning purposes, which were closely in line with our FY 2021 figures. So moving forward, the Emergency Solutions Grant, according to HUD's announcement, we expect to receive $174,344. And just for informational purposes, we used an estimated figure of $174,000. So we're for planning purposes, we're very close to what we expect to receive. And each line will give you a description of the organization, the goal for which that line item is going to address, a copy, a description of the project or activity, and the amount that's going to be allocated for that line item, and the approximate number of individuals or households served per that activity. Please be aware, one, we want the public to know how these funds are going to be used, the amount of money that's going to be used per activity, and the approximate number of individuals or households or units that are going to be produced. In addition, this information is required when we enter the annual action plan in the Integrated Disbursement Information System. So in addition to the ESG, it also requires a match, and we will match those ESG dollars with dedicated housing fund dollars, as you note, in coordination with ESG and the approximate number is the same number as referenced for ESG. So it's only going to be a total of 45 and not 90, but we're showing that the dedicated housing funds will be used in coordination with ESG for the match. Can you move forward, Matt? So next is housing opportunities for persons with AIDS. We anticipate receiving $542,712 as it relates to HOPWA. You will note the amounts that per line item that will be used. Please remember that there will be 3% is allowed for the grantees admin, 7% for the HOPWA project sponsors, and the remaining balance, which is a little over 488,000, will be used for activities. I think for planning purposes, our estimate was around 480,000 plus. And we were aware, I think we had a 5-year projection a couple of years ago that the HOPWA entitlement amount was going to increase, but we wanted to be safe as opposed to sorry and go with a reasonable estimate. And then if the amount increased, well, that's great, but it was better to slightly underestimate and instead of overpromise. So we're happy to see a slight increase in the HOPWA entitlement amount. Forward, please. Community Development Block Grant. We anticipate receiving $2,107,077. Our estimate was at 2.1 million, so we were very close to the amount that we expect to receive. In addition, we expect to receive approximately 100,000 in program income, which is generated from our loan portfolio. I am not going to go through each one of these line items. You will see as it reflects how the monies will be allocated per the project or activity. And with the total of the anticipated entitled amount plus the 100,000 for program income, we anticipate having $2,207,077 to allocate for activities and admin in FY 21-22. Forward, please. Lastly is the Home Investment Partnership Program. According to HUD's announcement, we expect to receive $1,199,161. For planning purposes, we estimated exactly 1 million. So once again, we were close to the expected figure. In addition, we anticipate receiving 100,000 in program income for a total amount of home program funds to be $1,299,161. And as Selena mentioned, and I'm sure Jess did as well, that with the home program, one of the requirements, unless there is a waiver, and waivers were put in place due to COVID, but just ordinarily, grantees must commit at least 15% of their home entitlement to community housing development organizations. Can they reserve more? Absolutely. But at a minimum, a grantee must reserve 15% to CHODOs. And that will be done through a competitive process as well. So you will see that the reservation for the CHODO amount, we are a consortium, meaning that we receive a few extra home dollars because we are a consortium. We only have one other member, and that is the county. HUD releases a consortia annual report to delineate the percentages for each members that are in a consortium. So in our case, we only have one other member, and the pro rata report was just released a couple of weeks ago as well. And the breakdown is 94% and 6% respectively, the city and the county as the pro rata share as it relates to the entire home allocation. So for the county of our home program amount, they will receive $77,000 or allocated $77,732 for an activity to take place outside of the county. The city is the lead agency and basically facilitates the entire process as it relates to an activity out in the county. And again, you will see before you the additional line items as to how we expect to expend that total amount of $1,299,161. The draft annual action plan and the funding chart went on public review last Friday and will be available until end of day on April 19th, end of day meaning at the time of the city council meeting where we will receive comments on the draft annual action plan. It will be on public review. It does not mean that you're not allowed to make comments after the 19th. On May 3rd, the plan will be presented for city council for adoption. So between the 19th, and if there's some areas of concern or adjustment after the public hearing on the 19th, we will have from the 19th up until the time of May 3rd, more or less, to make adjustments and present to city council what we believe will be the final draft for their approval. Because HUD announced the allocations a couple of weeks ago, we have very little time beyond. We will need to submit our plan on May 15th, almost as if business as usual. HUD will have 45 days to approve the plan once subsequent to our submission, which we're going to go with the May 15th date. Basically, that will land us sometime in July. Typically, the norm is, or it's acceptable if a grantee has not heard from HUD after those 45 days, it is determined that your plan is acceptable. However, the great city of Durham always waits to hear from HUD that our plan has been approved before we make any adjustments. And then once we receive that approval, we can expect to receive, barring any unusual circumstances, or hope to receive the grant agreement sometime in August or September. And then we start moving forward with, as necessary, any contracts that are in queue, because our competitive process has already taken place, and or we will begin certain RFPs or launch RFPs for some of the existing funds as it relates to FY 21-22. So that's what I hope to believe, a short spill, but hopefully thorough one regarding our FY 21-22 annual action plan. Are there any questions?
It's a quiet group today. Thank you, Ms. Conyers, for all your insight and all what you do.
Thank you.
And obviously, to everybody, y'all do have any questions, you know that both Ms. Conyers and Ms. Snard are available and respond relatively quickly to anything that we ask of them. So if you do have questions that come to mind later on, please don't hesitate to email them or contact them. Alrighty. We are on the CDBG week statement / resolution. Is that Mr. Johnson that's going to be talking about that?
The only
This
thing-
is Ms. Conyers. I'm
Yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
Reginald, you wanted
Go
to?
ahead. No, go ahead.
What I would like to share is that the department is in the process of preparing a proclamation, and that will be sent to Mr. Johnson to forward to for approval to be read at the first council meeting in April. Community Development Week is April 5th through April 9th. Thank you.
Thank you. And those who are new to the board, usually for our CDBG week, we are doing different activities, different volunteer activities to celebrate that week. But obviously due to COVID, that's not going to take place in the way that we want to. So to talk about a volunteer opportunity for vaccine outreach, I guess I could talk about that based on what we talked about in our exec meeting, where hopefully at some point in time, we as a group can partner with whether Durham County or the city in doing a vaccine outreach where we can, help volunteers sign people in, obviously safely to be able to get vaccinated. And so we will let you know once we can have a concrete date on that. I think that would be a great opportunity for us as a board to do some community outreaching. We also know that there are huge disparities in people of color getting vaccinated and still. And so I think that is something that we as a board can do to help get as many folks vaccinated that that wish to get vaccinated as possible. So we will let you know about that opportunity. So we're on letter C. Is that Matt?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you wanted those on the agenda or not, but we just talked about a couple of different opportunities for, CDBs in light of the COVID situation. That was just another idea that we had discussed during the executive team
Correct.
meeting.
Correct.
I don't know if there's anything definitive, but that's something that we had floated that, so I put that on the agenda.
Correct. You're right. Yeah, I think it goes in line with B. We want to be able to do some outreach as a board. We want to be in the community. I think the community needs to know who are working on our community-led boards. And I know in the past we have worked with Urban Ministries in the past, where we volunteered over there feeding the folks that stay there. So if anybody on the board has opportunities where you feel like this would be a great chance for us to do some outreach, please email me. Even if it's only a few of us that are able to go, I'd love to have the opportunity to do some outreach work with this board, and just kind of have folks know who we are and what we do. All right. Any announcements? There's a few of us that I think Matt emailed if you want to renew your position on the board, that all you have to do is just reapply through the city's website. If it's a real easy process. I don't have those names off the top of my head.
Mr. Chair, I know Dr. Hyman, before the meeting began, she had mentioned that she did go on and attempted to reapply. So I believe it might have been you and Ms. Washington might have been on there as well, but I'll make sure to follow up on that.
Yes, I think it's Drew, Dr. Langloss, Brian, Ms. Washington, myself, and maybe it's Dr. Hyman as well. But it's a real simple process. If you would like to stay on the board, we would love to keep you. We want you. Don't leave. You know, so please try to, I think the deadline is April 22nd, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's right.
Yeah. Any other announcements that we have? Any good news? We need good news. Any good news? I know it's only a few of us here. Anybody have good news?
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, I just want to note that since we did not have it, we have not gotten to a quorum. We were supposed to have action on the January, February minutes, and Ms. Washington did send those out. I guess I would recommend that we would just table that till the March meeting, and then we'd have 3 months.
3 sets of minutes. Okay. Noted. If anybody has any good news, I guess I can share that I've been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. A few of us and a few as a contributor. I'm not Barack over here, but a few of us Durhamites have been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize in police reform. So that's really good news. And I got my second shot. So I'm fully vaccinated as of Saturday. So that feels good. I can go home and see my mama. So I'm going to New York. She's fully vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm going home. So that's great news. And other than that, if anybody has anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn, and I will see y'all in March.
So moved.
How about
Thank you,
in
Mr.
April.
Oh,
March. COVID time.
you know, yes. Thank y'all. In April. Yeah. It's been one of those days. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Carl. I'll see y'all in April. Please look out for the email for your minutes. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to hit me up, and I'll see y'all then. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you and
everybody.
have a great week.